So, this video is not to come off as a hater. It's really not. This is a good story. It's a positive thing for the Montreal Canadiens for this guy to be playing well. But I'm not gonna lie. Part of the reason I'm making this video is because of my own biases. For me, watching the Montreal Canadiens and seeing how they've been playing the past few weeks. Because earlier this week, the Yahoo Fantasy League ended up updating with a whole bunch of new scores and player breakdowns, and one of the top free agents available in my league, 16-team keeper league, it's very competitive, is Montreal Canadiens center Kirby Dach. Or I guess I'm going to say center. Let's just say center for now and see what happens later on. But Kirby Dach is one of the guys who is still on the market, and he is now shot up to one of the best players in the league because of his performance the past 3 games. He scored himself 4 points in the prior 3 games, and he has been doing a whole bunch of stuff. Stuff on the power play, he's been shooting, he's been getting hits, and he has been taking up a first-line spot with the absence of Juraj Slafkovsky. Now, the thing is, Dach is still a free agent in my league, and I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, he's been playing well, he's been getting minutes, he's been getting points, I don't have any streamer spots available, so would it be wise to take Kirby Dach and give him that chance? Bring him onto my team and say that he is a part of it. And honestly, I don't know what it is. It might just be me, but I kind of said to myself, you know, I don't really buy it. I don't know. This is just totally subjective Lego going out there and saying some random thought that I don't really have the means to justifying, but I kind of shied away from it. And I think for the majority of my guys in my fantasy league, Kirby Dach might actually remain as a free agent for a while. Who really knows? I mean, maybe the averages over the past few days are going to bring him up to the spotlight and then he gets taken, but for now, I don't necessarily know if I want to take this guy. And this idea has bled into some other discussions that we have seen about the Montreal Canadiens, like this one, posted on the Commission Athletic podcast Twitter account, going over the idea of Kirby Dach and whether or not the Canadiens should trade him. Yeah, let's dive into this. So the link is going to be in the description to the video clip, as well as to an article on HabsFanatics.com by Elias Artyom. Kirby Dach's time with the Montreal Canadiens would be over if it were up to Snake. Now, who exactly are we talking about? Well, this is Simon Beauvoir going out there on the podcast talking about Kirby Dach and how he thinks the Montreal Canadiens should pull the plug on him before the next time he gets injured. Take a look at this. Beauvair's perspective is that the Habs should capitalize on Dach's current value while he is not yet injured. The next injury could be a breaking point for the forward, and Kent Hughes might as well act before finding himself in the same situation as the Philadelphia Flyers did with Nolan Patrick. Snake even wonders if this isn't what the Blackhawks did, pulling the plug on Dach by trading him away to the Habs. The writer here, Elias Artyom, says, in a way, I agree with Beauvair. The Habs will indeed need to analyze the situation before it's too late. That's also what co-host Matthias Brunet thinks, noting that Dach's future will be determined during his contract renegotiation in a few years, as his current contract expires in the summer of 2026, not with his next injury. Now, this is a strange idea, because ultimately, it goes out there and projects some very unfortunate circumstances upon Dach that you really don't have any means of guessing. You take a look at the example that's brought up here, Nolan Patrick, 2017 second overall pick, a guy that many people thought would have been the first overall pick back in that time frame of the 2017 draft. He ultimately did not have himself an NHL career, and he retired a lot earlier than most people were expecting, because of injuries that were out of control of him and the teams that he was on. Ultimately, for Nolan Patrick, we all recognize that this is one of the most unfortunate draft prospect stories that the NHL has seen in years. But ultimately, for a guy who was a top pick to not have himself that career, it really goes to show you the fragility of sports careers in general, and just kind of the fragility of life, too. So the idea that's brought up on this podcast by Beauvair that Kirby Dach might be going down a similar path, Obviously, you could say it's a little bit disrespectful to kind of insinuate those circumstances upon somebody else, but at the same time, when it comes to Kirby Dach, you have to start thinking about his injury history, how he has gone through season-ending injuries multiple times throughout his career. Yeah, that's right, he has missed out on multiple seasons due to season-ending injuries, or season-lasting injuries at least, in the case of the Chicago Blackhawks injury he had sustained. And ultimately, let's say this assessment, let's say this guess is 100% going to happen. Let's say he gets another injury that's really dangerous and it takes him out of the NHL for a few months. If that does happen, then of course, there's no telling how far the recovery period is going to go and whether or not Kirby Dach will be able to carve out a career for himself. Whether or not the Nolan Patrick situation is actually possible here. But ultimately, we do not know if that's going to happen, and I want to be on the more optimistic side of believing in guys' development and believing in the good that they could bring to their teams, especially for Dach as of late. Now, the thing is, he has been playing well, he has been getting points, he has been looking good, but there are some extra posts on the Habs subreddit that dispute where exactly his role is. Here's a devil's advocate point of view on the Canadiens, posted by Comprehensive Chef 73. Juraj Slafkovsky is still a better choice for the first line than Dach. Has Dach looked better than Slav this year on the first line? Sure, maybe, but also, it's only been 2 games, and not against super great teams. Not to mention, center depth is very important, and Dach is definitely our second best center. Don't forget how awesome the combination of Caulfield, Suzuki, Slafkovsky was for the latter part of last season. After Slav comes back, it won't be long until Slav gets his groove back and becomes an eagle-eyed possession monster once again. I should clarify, I'm not saying that Dach should definitely be a center long-term. I think he is good as a winger. Right now, though, he's worth more to the Habs as a center, kind of like with Gulli playing right D instead of left D. And there are a bunch of people going out there and kind of agreeing, kind of disagreeing. Some are saying that it's not necessarily that simple, and whether or not the Canadiens should be doing Dach a service by giving him this opportunity and allowing him to run with it because he has been good. And I think maybe for me personally, just kind of thinking about that, it's making me hesitant to take Dach in my fantasy league. Not necessarily because I don't think that he's great, and I don't think that he's a good passer and that he can get in the right areas, and when he's on, he is on, but the question is this going to last? And bleeding into the other comments made by Simon Beauvais, is it actually time to capitalize on this? Would the Canadiens be in a better spot if they were to trade Dach away while he is going through some sort of a positive upswing like this, in order to prevent something that we don't even know is going to happen or not? Oh, did you see what happened to Nolan Patrick? We don't want to see that happen with Dach. Like, it's so strange to go out there and even suggest that something like that is possible. Like, I don't think it's necessarily wrong, but it's strange. So I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How are you responding to Kirby Dach and the way he has performed for the Montreal Canadiens as the first-line right winger? And what do you think the move is once Slav gets back? Do you move guys around to try to accommodate him back? Do you just say, okay, sorry, Dach, you're just going back to the second line? Do you say, hey, you've been playing so well that we're going to move Slafkovsky to the second line, get a whole bunch of guys moving around there, put Newhook on the second line center spot, and then just kind of roll with it there? We can do things flexibly because you're so good, Kirby Dach. I mean, of course, I'm kind of speaking about it in layman's terms, but you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Kirby Dach and his play with the Habs so far? And do you think the Montreal Canadiens should even consider the idea of trading this guy away? Both the article and the video clip of the podcast, as well as the Reddit thread, are all going to be linked in the description, so it's all available for you there if you wanted to consume some of this extra content yourself. But thoughts on Kirby Dach? Yay, nay, first line, second line, whatever? What happens when Juraj Slafkovsky gets back? Let me know in the comments section. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.